Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Progressive Overload podcast. Have you ever thought about strengthening multiple areas of your life at the same time? Then you've come to the right place. Our goal is to help you identify ways that you might need a progressive overload to break through those plateaus and keep you growing.
Hey, what is up, Progressive Overload fam? It has been a while, man, and
Welcome
I am
back.
Glad to be here.
Studio 3.0.
Yeah, Studio 3. Yeah, I guess this is 3.0, huh?
It is.
Yeah.
Welcome back, brother. Glad to have you today.
Dude, it's nice to be back. Nice to, get a break to actually be here. Things have been pretty crazy lately, but in a good way.
Yeah.
In a good way.
It just feels good to be in my presence, doesn't it?
No. It feels good to bless you with my presence.
Okay. Oh, man. Well, you just got a good pump in?
Dude, I did. The workout program that you've had me on for the last, how long have I been doing this? A little over a month.
Yeah.
Man, every workout I walk away just like feeling the pump.
The pump, yes.
And not to say that I've never felt it before, but it has been far more extreme this time.
One is definitely more hypertrophy focused than you've ever done.
I love it.
Lots and lots of reps,
having so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
My least favorite part would have to be that moment where I'm like, man, I've done a lot of reps, and you're like, you got a few more. Keep going.
Yes, that was so much fun.
I love that workout. I enjoyed that workout more than any that I have in a while.
It's true, man. It was so good. So note to self and others out there, when you do a workout program that is to failure, do it with a friend.
Yeah.
A friend that has no problem telling you
to not be a baby and to keep going.
I was going to say nut up, but that's probably not PC.
I mean,
Anyways, you got more. You got more in the tank. Go for it. And that's always, that one that we did together was the best failure workout I've had of this whole program, for sure.
Yeah.
So we definitely need to do more of those. I'm killing the garage gym workout these days.
Dude, I've seen the content on Instagram.
Yes.
Man, it's been nice to see. And you have been thoroughly enjoying that home gym, man. It's
been so much fun, man. It's a game changer. I never thought I would be the garage gym guy just because I love the gym. I love the gym atmosphere. But as you just get busier with the dad life and stuff like that, I mean, I'm coaching T-ball, taking my daughter here and there. It's been a wild season.
Yeah.
But having that option where, hey, we put my daughter down, I'm going to go get a quick workout in before, we start watching our TV show or whatever, or Sunday morning. I got a Sunday workout in, and that's just rare because the gym that I go to doesn't have childcare on Sundays, and I don't like leaving her at home or whatever whenever I'm home on the weekend. So anyways, it's been awesome.
Yeah, that's great, man. And have to say, dude, like the accessibility of the home gym strikes me as probably the biggest benefit, because then it removes a lot of that excuse, and it's
100%.
For it being right there, the convenience of it sometimes is like, I'll go get a workout in.
Right, 100%. All right, the question of the day. If you could instantly become an expert in something, what would it be?
Instantly.
You are an expert in
there
what?
There are so many options. I
know my answer if you need a second.
I think I know my answer.
Okay, go for it. Oh, no, you got it.
No, you
guess first.
No, you.
No, you. No, you hang up. All right. So if I could instantly be an expert at something, I would want to instantly be an expert at the piano. Yeah.
Interesting. Is there a reason why?
So I've played so many different instruments. It's kind of the what is it? Master of none. What is it? Jack of all trades, but master of none. I can play a little bit of all kinds of instruments, but there's not one that I'm just extremely good at. I mean, I stick to the bass most of the time, and I'm pretty dang good at it, but definitely not a master or an expert.
Sure.
But with piano, if you're an expert at piano, you have to understand music theory and reading music and all these different concepts of music. If I'm an expert at that, I can most likely pick up any other instrument and be an expert at that. So it would just enhance my bass playing. I would be shredding This Is Amazing Grace on the Sunday platform, just, but also, anyways.
I respect it.
And I've always wanted to be that guy at a party that just sits down and just plays a piano and everybody just stops what they're doing. They're
just
like, wow.
breaks out the ukulele.
Or that,
Or that.
I love the uke.
If you happen to listen to this, you know who you are.
The ukulele guy.
The ukulele guy.
All right, what about you?
Dude, you're going to laugh at me because this is my instant reaction. First
Can
thing.
I guess?
Go for it.
I mean, it's got to be technology related.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. For those who don't know, a little bit of what I've been going through here lately is I've been working on some technology certifications, and the studying, you've seen me literally just, my brain almost numb from the amount of studying that I've been doing, literally. And so for me, becoming an instant expert in that
in studying
would be fantastic. No, not the studying. We want to skip that. If I could instantly become an expert in that field where I don't need the studying.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So what would the field be technically?
I mean, IT in general.
Just IT.
Networking.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
That's kind of where I'm studying right now. But
you can learn how to program AI, man. You are top of the world.
Sure. Yeah, be on the forefront of that.
Yeah.
Unexplored.
Dude, that stuff is
territory.
Scary to watch. Even it's so early in the game and it's already like, all right, this is too much.
Yeah, you know? I mean, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. All right. Well, we haven't even told you what we're talking about today. Sorry. Today we are talking about, which actually you read the title, so you know.
Oh, hello.
Yes.
Nice to see you there. Yeah. No, the three reasons. The top three reasons you're stagnant in muscle building and your faith.
Right.
So,
and today I titled it muscle building because that's kind of the topic I wanted to hit in regarding to these three reasons that you're stagnant or not growing. Because I'm talking about muscle growth. And I mean, some of these could relate to weight loss and fat loss and all that kind of fun stuff too, but
yeah, I think it all kind of like bleeds together to a certain extent, but to narrow it down to muscle building for what we're talking about today.
Right. So the top three reasons for all these are laziness, comparison, and unwillingness to change. And so let's start with our muscle building topic. And one of the top reasons you're not growing your muscles is because of laziness, and we'll break that down a little bit. The first one that I wanted to talk about is you're not stimulating the body parts enough. And so science tells us each muscle group or muscle belly needs to be stimulated about 15 to 20 sets per week. So if you're wanting to grow your testicles, you need to be hitting that muscle 10 or 15 to 20 sets a week. So if you are only hitting your chest once a week and say you're doing 3 sets of 10 bench press, 3 sets of 10, I don't know, chest fly, and then you move on to something else, you're not hitting that volume to where you should be. And so that's why it's important to look at your program, especially if you're doing a body part split and you're doing one body part a week. Make sure you're hitting that volume. And what sucks about body part splits is if I do 20 sets of chest in one workout,
what is going to hurt tomorrow?
You are going to be so sore.
Yes.
And it's going to take a whole week to recover from that. And so, if you looked at your program before and you're like, man, it's been 2 weeks since I squatted last. You're like, how do I expect? I know I've been there. How do I expect to grow in my squat, my barbell squat, when I haven't done it in 2 weeks,
Yeah, and, I've had the luxury, really, of you program 90% of my workouts.
That's true.
There hasn't been a whole lot of me having to figure it out on my own.
Right.
And in our conversations, obviously, my goals and kind of direction and things that I feel comfortable with and want to work on. And so that's been a big benefit for me. But yeah, like looking at the body parts splitting and in regards to how much I'm hitting what muscle group so often, really that hasn't been something that I've looked at until this most recent workout plan, where it's got me looking at, okay, like with what I'm doing, I'm hitting this muscle group in this workout. I'm hitting this muscle group in this workout. So overall through the week, I'm hitting it this much.
Yeah, right.
And I really hadn't... I really hadn't considered it. Especially that, and you know which workout I'm talking about, the good old leg day failure.
The failure
right.
leg day.
Man, that's where it put it into perspective of how much am I really like hitting this muscle group.
Right.
But no, I think that's from a beginner perspective, that is something that I never put enough of an emphasis on.
Yeah. Here's what I see myself doing this the most is, say my goal is to grow my legs, and the best way to grow your legs is a barbell squat, one of the best ways.
Yeah.
But my laziness kicks in. I wake up, I go to the gym, open up my workout. Oh, barbell squats. Oh, I'm not feeling it today. I'm going to be a little bit lazy. I'm still going to do my squats, but I'm just going to do goblet squats today. Mm-hmm. So, and this is that, in that scenario, it's coming from pure laziness, not from, okay, I had a really bad night of sleep, or, I mean, there are some excusable circumstances where you can make that decision. But if I only have barbell squats programmed once a week and I skip them, that means it's going to be 2 weeks till I hit it again, you know?
Yeah.
And so don't let that laziness kick in. And another one that kicks in a lot is my laziness kicks in because I'm not lifting heavy enough. You know, I hit the gym and I go through the motions. I'm doing what's programmed, but I know I should be doing more weight. Yeah. I know I'm not struggling as much at the end of the sets as I should. But you're just kind of silencing that, and you're choosing to be lazy that day.
Yeah, and I think that's where I probably struggle the most in regards to laziness, and not necessarily that I'm avoiding doing heavy enough weights. I think sometimes I get in that groove of feeling comfortable at a certain weight. Yeah. And then I'm like, I don't really think I can do 5 more pounds. I don't think I can really step it up a little bit more. Right. In reality, I can.
Yeah. We learned that from your failure day.
And yeah, 2 examples. Number 1, failure day, I'm sitting there doing barbell squat with 135, which is well under what I've maxed. Right. And so it's pretty light for me. Right.
But appropriate for a failure day.
Appropriate for a failure day. And I hit about probably rep 22 of it because I was just pushing myself. Right. And I don't think that I had really struggled yet. Mm-hmm. And I, in my mind, said 25. Yeah. And I got to 25 and I hear your voice behind me. You got a few more in you. Yeah. It's like, what? What? And then I hit 27 and you're like, come on. And then mentally I went 30. Yeah. I can do it. But I didn't think that I could get those last 5 reps in and be good quality for it before I needed to just shut it down. Yeah. You know, the other thing is there has been a recent part in one of my workouts where I went and looked at the dumbbells to say, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is what I have done. Let me grab that. Yeah. They're gone. Oh, right. I'm like, oh, man.
Do I go up or do I go down?
Do I go up or do I go down? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go up. Nice. And I did it, and it was a struggle, but I got every rep in on every set. And then I was like, wow, like I know now that this is where I should be, if not more.
Exactly. How many other lifts have I how
much have I been
myself,
cheating?
You know?
How much have I cheated myself in regards to growth by not pushing this far?
Right, 100%. Another place that your laziness can kick in is hitting your dang protein goals.
Okay, so I retract my previous statement. This is probably the spot that I struggle with the most.
I know, and it's out of pure laziness. Is not preparing. We know that if we want to grow our muscles, we have to have the protein to grow our muscles. It will not grow. You can get stronger, and you might grow a little bit. You can get a little bit more defined or whatever. But if you're wanting to grow your biceps, you're wanting to grow your glutes, your quads, whatever, it has to have protein for muscle protein synthesis.
It does, yes.
So don't be lazy. Plan it out. And I'm speaking to myself right now. Yeah. I have not prepped well these last week or two, being sick and stuff like that.
It's been a while since I have.
Really? Yeah. And in order to hit your protein goals, it's hard to do it by just going about your day and just figuring out what you're going to eat as you go. You got to plan it out. You can't be lazy. You have to plan out, sit down. I know I have to eat at least 225, 230 grams of protein a day.
Which feels like so much.
I know, it is a lot, but I can't hit that with just waking up. All right, what do I want for breakfast today? All right, I guess I'm going to stop here and grab something. Okay, there's a 15 gram protein meal right there. And then, okay, I go to the cafe. All right, I'll have a skillet with some chicken. All right, that's 30 programs. I'm 2 meals down. I've only had 20 grams of protein.
Yeah.
I just called it programs.
I've only had 20 grams of programs. Protein.
I think we should start calling it that. Programs. You know, it works. Okay. Anyways, don't be lazy. If you want to change, if this is something you're choosing to do everything you can. And the biggest mistake you can do is not hitting those protein goals.
True.
It's true. So, all right.
That's laziness.
Yeah.
Now, this next one, I feel is one that hits at least me a little close to home.
Oh, for sure, me.
Is comparison.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm one that, like, in honesty, and I'm gonna openly in the air admit it right now, but I will never on a day-to-day basis. I am somebody who there is a struggle with not being where I want and what I lift and what I look like or the progress I'm seeing when I see other people progressing. Right. And there are moments where I start to compare. Mm-hmm. There are moments where internally I look at where other people are and go, I'm not there. Right. And get discouraged and fall into that hole. 100%. And that obviously hinders me progressing because then I get in a mentality where I stop pushing myself. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you just listened to the podcast from last week where I really dove deep into my story, and the response to that has been amazing. Thank you all who reached out. If you have not watched it, go watch it. Yeah, or listen, or watch, whatever. Or both. Yeah. Or do both. One after the other. There we go. You need to hear it twice to really get the effect. Yeah, thank you to everyone who's reached out and just said, hey, I enjoyed that. That really meant a lot to me. Or, I've had clients who have reached out to me, past clients that said, wow, I had no idea you were going through that. It all makes sense now and stuff like that. Or I had no idea postpartum depression was a thing in men, and that was really cool. And now that looking back at my time as a father, I can see myself going through something like that. And so it's been really cool. It's everything I had in mind with this podcast is helping reach people through my story. So anyways, cool. As we go into that, comparison was a huge thing in me creating that false identity of being the fat kid. Yeah. I look back and see my circle of friends that I had when I was that age, and there's no reason I thought I was the fat kid because almost every single one of them was just skin and bones, born with a six-pack, not because they worked for their six-pack, just because they were so dang lean. Mm-hmm. And I was not fat by any means, but I definitely wasn't just naturally lean where you could see, my bone, my bones and my ribs and stuff like that. Yeah, all of my friends growing up, they had that, and, they were drinking 12 packs of Dr. Pepper every single day, but I was not that way. So I compared myself to them, and compared to them, I was fat, or I had more fat than them. I was not fat by identity, but I had more fat. You were fatter. I was fatter than them, and that had a huge part of my identity, my false identity. So, and even to this day, I still compare my body to others, and it's something that I really fight with, but. As you all know, the statement that will always ring true is comparison is a thief of joy. Absolutely. And you and I have talked a little bit about comparison in general, in past conversations. And I would say this for myself, right? Comparison is a trap that I can very easily fall into. Right. But we've had the conversation where I've started to shift my mindset, where I don't compare myself to other people. I compare myself to my potential. Exactly. And use it as a driving force rather than a negative force. Mm-hmm. And so when I'm looking at my body, and, it's crazy because I have people that come up to me constantly that knew me years ago but probably haven't seen me since then, mm-hmm. and they all have the same reaction. Right. Wow, you have lost so much weight. Right. Like, you are doing really well. This mm-hmm. is awesome and super encouraging. but for me, when I look in the mirror, I still see the guy I was. Right. I still struggle with that, like, to this day, even though I'm like 95 pounds down from where I was.
You've almost hit the 100 mark.
Yeah, like I'm right there.
Right.
And I still see the same person that I was before.
Yeah.
And so, like, in comparing myself, I've stopped trying to let that happen.
Yeah.
By, instead of doing that, looking at or comparing myself to where I think I can get.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Be.
And another terrible mistake is that there's two sides of comparison too.
Mm-hmm.
Is I can compare myself to somebody else, or I can compare myself to who I used to be, to where I was back in high school, to where I was in college. Or I hear that all the time, like, oh, I just want my high school body back. Like,
yeah.
And when you compare yourself to that, I mean, one, you have totally different hormone profile. You have gone through 2 more stages of puberty, blah, 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 blah. You have gone through totally different life circumstances. Get that crap out of your head. You're never going to be the same person, same size, same body that you were in high school. It's just not the same.
Hey, thank goodness, because you've seen the pictures. I don't want that body back.
You were the exception there. Yeah, because you've lost 100 pounds since then, almost.
Pretty much, man.
I know, that's crazy. That's wild. But and also, whenever I'm comparing with somebody, there's also 2 different ways you can compare yourself to somebody else. I can look at somebody and say, man, I wish I had their body, or I wish I looked like them. But you can also say, man, I'm so glad I don't look like them. Have you ever looked at
something? Yeah. It's the difference of humility, really. Right. It's the difference of looking at somebody and thinking, I can never be what they are.
Uh-huh.
And then there's the looking at them and going, well, they'll never be where I am.
Yeah.
And
neither one are healthy.
Neither one of those are healthy. And I would venture to say they're not healthy in your relationship with yourself and your own image. And they're also not healthy with your relationship with others.
Right. 100%. Yeah, you're right. This next one is another one that I struggle with for a long time. Our point 3 is just unwillingness to change. There was a long time where I knew I needed to change, but I was unwilling to make the difficult changes in order to progress, and that's why I wasn't growing. So have you ever found yourself in that state, just like, I know I need to make a change,
absolutely,
but I'm currently not willing to do so?
Absolutely. And that's a part of my story, which maybe I'll share one day, but
that would be a good idea.
Yeah, it would be a good idea, huh? But we've had this conversation, you and me. When I first started my fitness journey, I did a lot of running because I could do it in what I felt was out of the public eye, where people couldn't see me, for one. And I really pushed myself to be more active, which is great. I was willing to do that. What was I not willing to do that during that time? Shift how I ate.
Right.
And so, sure, the scale maybe showed 3 or 4 down, and then I skip running for a day and it's back, and I'm like, and not to say that it was to some large extent, a lot of it generally came from just a lack of knowledge, a lack of understanding.
That's true.
During that point in my life, but no, there was certainly an unwillingness in what I ate, because I really enjoyed that pizza.
Exactly.
With ranch.
With ranch.
But
there's my unwillingness right there.
Yeah, I hate to call you out like that, but
yeah.
But for me, there was an unwillingness to put those things down, or to look at those things, evaluate them, and say, maybe I'll see the progress I want if I'll shift in this one direction and stop eating pizza.
Right.
I have to make up for the pizza references.
I know. Yeah, we've missed the pizza references since you've been gone.
Yeah. But no, so absolutely, I've struggled with unwillingness in habits that put me in a position to not better pursue this physical wellness or muscle building, or however you want to put it.
Right.
And maybe to some extent there's a willingness to lay aside habits or hobbies or things that we need to pursue those things.
Yeah. But
even though there's a willingness, sometimes we fail on the priority.
Oh yeah, that's the big one right there. The willingness or unwillingness to make that lifestyle change that is that's the biggest roadblock. But you just have such a stronghold on you, and we can talk about that here in a little while. The strongholds that are placed upon us when it comes to these unhealthy relationships with certain things. You get comfortable and you get scared to let go of something like that. So here's what I want to do next is I want to circle back around and basically go through these same 3 points with a perspective of faith.
Okay.
And bring in some scripture to talk about that. Because physical growth, muscular growth is so meaningless in the scope of eternity, and it's worthless.
It's
we're
all
not
for nothing.
It's all for nothing.
This
if we're not growing our spiritual walk with Christ. And it might produce temporary fruit, but that fruit will always spoil.
Absolutely. That it's just like when we talk about the muscle building and stuff, when there's a lacking in one area, which really the 3 things that we're defining is essentially a spot where a lack develops and grows, right? It kind of fosters that spot for that lack to occur. And if we let that lack occur, if we let it occur in our spiritual health, then obviously that's an even bigger problem.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So what was our first of...
So laziness.
Laziness.
Yeah, man. This one hits me hard.
I don't know that you can say enough about this one.
Well, no. It's and even just sitting here talking about it with you guys, I mean, I'm convicted to it because there are so many days, especially this last 2 years, where I consider these last 2 years just being just a huge period of growth for me. Like I talked about last week, I'm a completely different person than I was 2 years ago.
You are.
Yeah.
In a good way. Like there has been a even in what little I've known you. Right. There has been a distinct growth.
Right. For sure.
Visible.
For sure. And even then, there are so many times where I did not miss a workout. I did everything I could to get my workout in. But I didn't read the Bible.
Yeah.
I didn't sit down and have a time where I listened to God. I didn't pray to God. I didn't talk to him. I didn't spend time in his presence. And I spent so much time on my physical growth and have largely ignored my spiritual growth compared to the efforts that I've put in the gym. And that's just extremely convicting to me.
It is. It really puts it into perspective to look at it and say, if I pursued God with the same level of passion that I pursue my physical wellness, my spiritual health would look a lot different.
Absolutely.
And I think it is convicting just to look at it. And and I would say like anyone can be convicted of this, because I don't know that there necessarily isn't enough, quote unquote, but especially in realm of prioritizing it, right? Yeah, like, sure. and that's what I get out of it is, like you said, so many times where I do not miss a workout, but I don't fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Right. And I even have some friends who struggle with this to some extent with their laziness, to where they know, like I got one friend who on Mondays is his day off, and his morning Bible study time had fallen by the wayside on Mondays because he sleeps in and then gets busy with the day and all this stuff. And so he got to the point of saying, hey, like, I'm going to start sending you a picture of what I'm studying on Mondays. And if I don't, text me.
Yeah. That's good. I love that.
And so it's literally gotten to the point where there are some Mondays where I'll just send a nice little question mark. That's all I say.
Yeah.
And then within like 15 minutes, click, there's a picture of what he's studying.
Nice.
And it's like, I'm in it.
Yeah, that's good.
And you know, sometimes we have to take those steps to eliminate the laziness.
Right. And people are so good about taking steps to eliminate the garbage out of their pantry so they're not eating crap.
Right.
They take steps in finding those accountability partners. Hey, will you go work out with me? Will you text me? Let me text you pictures of my food. Let me have a coach. Let me have accountability partners. But how many of you are putting efforts into removing those roadblocks, into removing those temptations in your life to improve your spiritual walk? And this whole podcast has been so good for me in just kind of figuring out and learning for myself. I guess it's the sanctification part of it, but figuring out where fitness fits in Christianity. And I think that's part of kind of our commission through Progressive Overload is to help educate people and to really create conversations around where does my fitness fit within my walk with Christ. If you are a Christian and you are a lifter or an exerciser and physical health is important to you, you have to make sure that you are not putting that higher than God. You have to make sure you're not putting it on a higher pedestal than your walk with faith. If you're spending all of your time meal prepping, all of your time making sure you hit the gym, all of your time, getting your supplements in order, getting your pill box ready, whatever, but you are ignoring your time in the Word, you are ignoring your time speaking to God, listening to God, it is absolutely an idol.
Absolutely. When you put it on that pedestal, and then it's really out of place.
Yeah.
And if you were to write out a list of your priorities and look at it, if God is not on top of that list, then it's in the wrong order. And I've always heard it, if you put God at the top of the list, everything else falls into place.
Right.
When we prioritize our worship and our prioritization, just in general with our relationship with God, then everything else finds its proper spot. And I love what you said there. If we put fitness first, not to say it's not important, but if we put it first, it's an idol.
Right. 100%. How would you compare yourself as we go on to number 2? Comparison keeping us from growing in our spiritual journey. How would you say that falls into your life?
I would say, and there is a point in my life, especially as a young Christian, that I looked at those around me, right? And there were certain individuals who are much older than me, right? Who have been a Christian much longer than me. And I could visibly see the closeness that they held with God. Right. But to some extent, I saw that in them, but I didn't see it to that level in me. Right. And so I had that comparison moment of going, I don't know that I quite have what they have. Right. And that comparison, that's like you said earlier, comparison is the thief of joy. Right. If we compare ourselves to others, it does steal our joy in a sense. And really, the only thing we should compare ourselves to is to Christ. Right. Is compare ourselves to Christ. Right.
100%. And I think it's also important to understand. People are just, the person you're comparing yourself to is in a different place in their life. Like, if I compare myself to somebody in my church that they just seem like they got it all going on, they're just so worshipful and they beam the Holy Spirit, and you're like, man, I'm so jealous. I wish I could do that. That could be you in 2 years. If I think about how much spiritual growth I've had in 2 years, who's to say that can't be me?
And not only that, like I've seen, had, and heard these conversations before of talking to that person who's much further along in their faith.
Right.
And just having that conversation of, man, I wish I was more like you.
Right.
How so? well, I just wish I had more life experience. I wish I had more closeness with Christ. I wish I had the faith that you have.
Yeah.
I wish I had things figured out like you.
Right.
Brother, I don't have things figured out in the slightest.
No.
Don't look at me like that. No, if you
Right.
see that, you see wrong.
Right.
Right? And what I have is Jesus.
Yeah.
And a closeness and leaning on him.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's comparison really and I think it goes back to how we look at it, right?
Yeah.
We can compare in a sense of saying I'll never be where they're at,
Yeah.
which will be wrong, right? Because we don't compare towards that. We compare ourselves towards Christ and
Exactly.
say, man, I have some work to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. We all do.
Yeah.
We also I want to flip that coin, right? Because we need to do that too.
Of course.
We can't look at others and how they look, what they wear, how they talk, how they interact with others, especially if we don't know their background or their story.
Right.
And say, they'll never be where I am.
Right. Yeah. Or at least I'm not going and doing those things that they're doing. You know, we can compare ourselves to people that we think are less spiritual than we, that less religious than us, less or not as close to God as we are, and we can always use that to make ourselves feel better about our journey.
Yeah, and I would, I'll call it out. There are those who fall into that trap of comparing themselves to others in that non-humble way. Mm-hmm. That refuse to engage because there's a difference in where they are.
Right.
And how against the gospel is that?
Yeah, it's backwards to the gospel. I mean, think about all of the people that Jesus decided to associate himself with.
Yeah.
They were not the religious leaders. They were not the people, the rich and wealthy.
They were the lost.
They were the lost. They were poor a lot of times. They were like the woman at the well who, idolatry, and all of these different sins that the people that he decided to save and the people that he decided to associate with. And it kind of alluded to it there, the unwillingness to engage with them. And I know unwillingness is our last thing to talk about here, but unwillingness goes far beyond our engaging with other people. I think that's a big part of our faith. Don't get me wrong. Right.
But when we look in regards to our unwillingness within our faith, and especially comparing it to what we talked about earlier, unwillingness to give up that pizza, right?
Right.
What is that sweet tooth craving thing that we latch onto, that we cannot give up hold of, that we refuse to walk away from?
Man, I mean, I can just think of so many examples. Unwillingness to walk away from a sin that has had you in a lockhold for so long.
That has you ensnared.
Yes, like I would love to work on my spiritual journey, but I just don't think I can give up fill in the blank. I don't think I'm just not willing to give up pornography, or I'm not willing to give up getting drunk with my buddies on Friday nights, or there's just so many of these different examples that you can throw out there that a lot of times you got everything else figured out, but I'm holding on to this one thing. Jesus, have my life. I'm offering everything to you, but I'm just going to hold on to this one thing.
It's like inviting Jesus into your home and saying, okay, there's this one door that I don't want you to open.
Don't go in there. Yeah. You can have the whole house except
you
for this
can
one
go
room.
anywhere you want, move anything how you see fit.
Right.
Leave this closet alone.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they call them skeletons in your closet.
Yeah, and just to talk scripture for that one. Sin is no longer your master, for you no longer live under the requirements of the law. Instead, you live under the freedom of God's grace. Well then, since God's grace has set us free from the law, does that mean we should go on sinning? Of course not.
No. Yeah, that's good.
We've been set free.
Yeah.
And in our being set free, that chain has been broken.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is no need for us to cling on to that one thing. Right. There should be nothing that we're not willing to give up.
Right.
In that sense. And if we are unwilling to do that, if we're, holding on for dear life to that one thing, maybe that's hindering our spiritual growth.
Absolutely. The best way you can, like you said, the freedom from that sin has already been bought. All you have to do is accept it.
It's already done.
And the most amazing thing you can do, especially for those strongholds in your life, those closets, those locked closets, you don't let anybody in. The best thing you can do is let somebody in. Find somebody that you trust and let them know, hey, this is holding me back, and I need somebody to know about it. The more you can make sin known, the better it can be dealt with. The longer it stays private, the longer it stays secret, the longer and stronger hold that it's going to have on you. So even with my own personal sin that I've dealt with, that was the game changer for me, is finding 2 or 3 people that I know, I trust, that I can talk with and get that out of my heart, and letting it go, giving it to somebody, giving it to God with open hands. Lord, take it from me, and letting it be known to other people brings so much freedom. So
absolutely.
Yeah, that was good, man. I love it so much.
So much fun.
So just recap: laziness, as hard as says in Proverbs, all hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. I love that. And then when we talk about comparison, each one should test their own actions, then they can take pride in themselves alone without comparing themselves to someone else. That's in Galatians. So there's so many good verses out there that can help with these 3 things. If you want to grow, stop being lazy, stop comparing, and stop being unwilling to let go of those strongholds.
Yeah.
And that works in our fitness and our faith.
Find a place to start.
Yeah. Dustin, thank you for joining us in
Man.
Studio 3.0.
It's always a pleasure.
Yes, thank you so much. It was enjoyable as always. If you like this podcast, please share with someone who you think might be struggling with some of these things, somebody that might be stagnant. Just say, hey, listen to this podcast the other day. It was awesome. I think you'll enjoy it. Share it over there with them. It's easy. Wherever you are, whether it's Apple or Spotify or Google or whatever, click that subscribe button. That way you can get notified whenever a new episode drops. And we just want to continue to build up this following base and continue to share and grow, and always possible.
Yeah.
Dustin, you got anything else?
Not at all.
All right, cool. All right, check you later, everybody. See you next time on the Progressive Overload podcast.
Peace. Thanks for listening to the Progressive Overload podcast. We're honored to be a small part of your day. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or are interested in sponsoring our efforts, please feel free to reach out via email. Find us at progressiveoverloadpod@gmail.com. Don't forget to subscribe and follow our podcast so you'll be notified when our next episode drops.
And as always, you can help us reach the masses by sharing our podcast with your friends and family. And then check us out on Facebook and Instagram to follow our own personal journeys and get an inside look on our day-to-day lives. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.